History has a funny way of repeating itself. Remember version 2.4? Back then, we were all desperate for information on the new character 𝗿𝗏𝗍. The leaker community, the people who usually dig up secret files and share them online, was completely dry. There were no kits, no animations, not even a blurry screenshot. We were starving for content, and then out of nowhere, Geoff Keighley, the host of the Game Awards, drops the reveal himself. He effectively became the leaker, and the community lost its mind because nobody saw it coming from a mainstream industry figure like him. Fast forward to today, we are sitting in version 2.8, and the exact same pattern just played out. For weeks, we waited for breadcrumbs about version 3.0. We watched the 2.8 developer livestream hoping for a teaser, a roadmap, or just a little hint of what we will get. We got nothing. The drought was real. The reliable leakers were empty-handed, and the community's excitement was starting to curdle into genuine frustration. And then suddenly, PlayStation posts a random video titled Wuthering Waves version 3.0 gameplay showcase. Kuro Games successfully starved the ecosystem so they could hand the exclusive leak to a massive platform. And today we're going to look at why this starvation marketing strategy is brilliant, how 3.0 is fundamentally changing the game's identity. If you enjoy analysis that connects the dots rather than just reacting to the hype, click the like button. And if you're new, subscribe to the channel. Let's be real about this reveal, right? It was more than just a trailer drop. It was a flex. In the gacha gaming space, leak culture is usually the marketing department. We rely on grainy screenshots and translated text files to build hype months in advance. Usually developers fight this, but they always lose. However, for version 3.0, Kuro Games sealed the cracks. They locked down the information so tightly that even the most reliable insiders came up empty. I believe this is a deliberate strategy. Think back to the 2.4 update with 𝗿𝗏𝗍. They stayed silent until the pressure peaked, and then they used a massive external partner to break the dam. It turned a standard update reveal into a mainstream gaming event that people outside the community paid attention to. Now look at 3.0. They let us sit through the 2.8 livestream with zero news. They let the disappointment build. They let us question if they were even ready. Right when that hunger hit its highest point, when everyone was asking where is the content, they bypassed their own YouTube channels entirely and gave the reveal to PlayStation. This sends a clear message. Kuro isn't interested in playing traditional gacha games with their announcements this time. They are positioning themselves as a developer that breaks news on the biggest platforms in the world. They starve the grassroots leakers so that when the official footage finally drops, it hits with maximum impact because it is the only footage that exists. They are controlling the narrative and the supply of hype. And judging by the explosion of community reactions today, the demand has never been higher. Having the confidence to market your game like a AAA titan is one thing, but you need the gameplay to back it up. And here, Kuro decided to stop looking at what other gacha games are doing and started looking at Grand Theft Auto? I'm talking about the Expedition motorbike. Usually when an open world RPG adds a mount, it is basically just a horse or a slightly faster run animation. It feels stiff and mechanical, but Kuro went a different direction. This is a full driving simulation complete with physics, a working radio station, and an option to have a first-person dashboard view. They effectively embedded a racing game inside their action RPG. The most critical win here is listed at the description of the PlayStation video. The bike is a utility. And for those who don't know, a utility in this game means a tool available for every single player. Like your glider or grapple hook or flight, it is not locked behind a specific character. There was a real fear that this motorcycle would be exclusive to the character Lene, and if you don't spend money to pull for her, you would be stuck walking while everyone else was popping wheelies. Kuro wisely avoided that paywall and made it a universal mechanic. What? That is insane in the gacha space. I wonder what other game has a motorcycle and decided to put a $300 paywall behind it. But you know what? The more important thing is that this solves open world fatigue. After 100 hours of playing, holding the sprint button gets old. You stop looking at the scenery. The flight mechanic was amazing, of course, but maybe for some of you it's also getting old. However, driving changes the loop from run, climb, glide, fly to drive, listen, explore. It is a small shift, it really is, but it saves your sanity and makes exploration fun again. It is a fresh mechanic and it's exciting. Of course, driving is only fun if the world is interesting to drive in, and in 𝗖𝗍𝗶𝗵𝗁, well, it is not what we expected, and honestly, it is better. We went in expecting a cold, high-tech science city, something filled with metal and glass, fitting the Star Torch Academy lore, right? But Kuro didn't give us shiny metropolis. They give us a garden. The vibe here is distinct. It is different. It is this overgrown, post-apocalyptic green aura. It is not the the scary kind of apocalypse, it is the healing kind. It feels like the world went into chaos years ago, and now nature is finally taking the buildings back. There is moss everywhere, there is leaves covering the ruins, and a sense that the environment is breathing, and it is alive in a literal sense. It reminds me of like Dr. Stone, when humanity turned into stone and then the entire world is healing from all of the modernization and technology. But other than that, we see these cabbage-looking creatures that aren't just background decoration, they are a part of an infrastructure. They are lifting elevators, interacting with the player, and filling the world with what I can only describe as soul. And then there's the music. It shifts from modern hymns to this upbeat jazzy pop track that changes the entire mood from survival to celebration. But it is deeper than just a platformer, okay? The environment isn't static. It moves to that jazz beat. Plants dance in the background, stairs play musical notes when you step on them, and puzzles sync up to the rhythm. The colors are popping, the visual fidelity is breathtaking, and for the first time, the world feels like a party you were invited to. For a game called Wuthering Waves, a game that is constantly throwing terms like frequencies and reverberations at us, it is shocking it took them this long to make sound an actual gameplay mechanic. And up until now, the sound theme was just a flavor text. In version 3.0, with this jazzy, living, breathing jungle, the world finally listens to the music. But a reactive world is only half of the equation. You need characters to live in it. With version 3.0, Kuro is doing more than releasing new units. They are changing the rules of how units fight. Let's start with Morny. If you are a veteran of Kuro's previous game, Punishing Grey Raven, you will immediately recognize the DNA here. She is a direct spiritual successor to Liv, Empiria, and you can see it in the white hair, the floating mechanical rectifiers, and the massive sci-fi laser attacks. It is a clear homage. She also shares that modern robotic aesthetic, clean, precise, and high-tech. But the gameplay looks like it tells a tragic story. After she finishes a basic attack cycle, she hunches over and looks like she is about to throw up. She looks like she is sick and physically broken. It creates this glass cannon narrative where she is incredibly powerful but physically fragile. I mean, look at her legs. Where is it? Are they detachable? Combat-wise though, she is fully aerial. She doesn't just float, she lives in the air. Upon triggering her intro skill, she immediately leaps upward and stays there. She dashes and moves without ever touching the ground. And her ultimate? It has those impact frames and she just evaporates the enemy. And yet her kit is a lie. Her profile says that she wields a broad blade, but watch the footage. She looks like she never touches a sword. She uses lasers and telekinesis. Kuro simply gave her the stats of a heavy weapon user, but the animations of a psychic, allowing for the rule of cool without the sword swings. I mean, sure, there is some frames where she does look like she's wielding a broad blade, but acknowledging that is literally like receiving a participation prize. And then we have Lene. She enters combat by quite literally ramming her motorcycle into the enemy. I mean, that tells you everything you need to know. Her design is the Gyaru archetype. Gyaru. Blonde hair, school uniform, headphones. She is just missing the tan. She looks like she wandered in from a completely different genre, and that visual dissonance is the point. She attacks with something that looks like blue fire and explosions, so you would assume she is fusion element, right? Wrong! She is Spectro. Kuro loves these elemental pump fakes to keep us guessing. Her combat is chaotic in the best way. She doesn't run, she roller skates. She is constantly moving, circling enemies with rainbow-colored trails, and throwing grenades, shooting guns. It is dynamic. And then we have to talk about the ultimate. When she cast it, the game briefly shifts into 2D assets, mimicking that comic book style. It is a massive technical flex, I think, but the most important thing is her air game. We all remembered how awkward aerial combat was with Ling Yang. It was floaty. Lene, however, looks sharp. She dominates the field with agility. If this play is as good as it looks, I think it's safe to say that Kuro has finally fixed the Z-axis combat. Now, I literally finished writing this script yesterday. I recorded it and I was ready to send it to my editor, ready to move on, thinking I had the full picture. I thought Kuro Games was playing the mystery card by hiding the academy to make us focus on the jungle. I thought they were saving the school reveal on the 3.0 livestream, which is happening in like a week from now. But because Kuro Games apparently never sleeps, they just dropped another trailer this morning called Transfer Students, and it completely changes the conversation. We aren't just getting a sci-fi city, we are getting a full-blown school simulator. This is them looking directly at Persona 5. The trailer confirms that the rover, our god-killing time-traveling protagonist, is literally going back to school. We see scenes of rushing to class, we see Morny and Luke seemingly acting as faculty or senior staff, and then we see the transfer student trope played completely awesomely. This is a massive tonal pivot, by the way. We are going from post-apocalyptic survival rival to slice of life anime. And I want to point out the character design of the new girl in the trailer. I mean, look at her hair. It is hella pink. She seems divine. She's like a goddess. But you know, maybe it is not just a dating sim, even though the game is called Gathering Wives. The trailer shows region-wide defense protocols and mechanisms fighting in the background. This confirms that the Star Torch Academy isn't just a quest hub, it is the central pillar of the updates. They hid it in the gameplay showcase yesterday, so they could blow our minds with the story context today. It is a masterclass in pacing. They sold us the gameplay, the bike, on Thursday, and they sold us the fantasy on Friday. They are hitting every single demographic back to back. When you step back and look at version 3.0 as a whole, it doesn't just feel like an update, it feels like a soft reboot of the game's entire philosophy. For the last year, the conversation around Wuthering Waves has always been comparative. We are always asking, can this game keep up with the giants? Is it polishing the standard formula well enough? But with this showcase, it feels like the developers stopped caring about the standard formula entirely. Instead, they asked a much more interesting question. What happens if we put a rhythm game inside a racing simulator inside a high-octane action RPG? They stopped trying to be a better version of their competitors and just decided to be the boldest, weirdest, most feature-dense game on the market. The dancing plants, the 2D animations, the motorcycle physics, they forced us to talk about the creativity. The Academy is still likely there as our narrative anchor, but the world itself is now the star of the show. If the servers actually hold up, they have the team to ensure that it does. This update cements Wuthering Waves as the industry leader in pure ambition. It is no longer just a combat game, it is trying to be everything game. The developers have proven again and again that they actually listen. They saw we were bored of running, they probably got some feedback on flying too, so they gave us a motorbike. They saw that we hated the floaty aerial combat, so they gave us a better one and gave it roller skates. They saw we wanted the world to feel alive, so they made it dance. But I'm curious, with this reoccurring theme of Wuthering Waves constantly evolving based on player feedback, what feature are you most excited to see them tackle next? Let me know in the comments down below. But that is all from me, 𝗖cie𝗽𝗆𝗿𝗵𝗁, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers!